Welcome along, everybody, to the 1UP Nitro National Series of 2021. This is round 17 of 25 in the 2021 season, and it's at none other than the historic Darlington Raceway for Throwback Weekend in the 1UP Racing Series. First up is the Nitro National Series turn for 74 laps around this very narrow, close quarters action, 1 1/3 mile oval, and we hope you'll enjoy some of the different looks on these cars as they flash back to drivers of years past. And alongside me in the booth today is Duke Anzac, as always, for this race, and there's a lot of talk about the playoffs are getting closer and closer with each race. After this race, there'll only be one more race left until the field of 12 is set. There's got to be some pressure on these guys struggling to perform as of late.
Oh, for sure. There is a ton of pressure because for a lot of these drivers, going into the playoffs and making the playoffs and having that last part of the season count for something is a huge part of what they work for the entire season. So if you're not inside that top 12 at the end of the year, it's going to seem like you failed that season. You know, your team just isn't going to be they're not going to feel like they did well that season. And somebody who really has made some noise already this weekend having to do with the playoffs is one of my drivers, Elijah Ironhouse. He had some struggles last week. He fell outside of the playoffs. He's in 13th right now, but he's only 4 points back, and he has got himself on the pole for this race. So that's going to be somebody you really want to watch for today going into this race and watching throughout.
Elijah does have a thing for these high tire wear, worn-out racetracks. He got pole at Atlanta earlier this year as well, if you remember, back in March. And as we can look at the full starting lineup right now, he's put his number 8 on pole position with Dylan Young alongside him in the 92, Peter Onjak and Jared Jackson in row 2, and rounding out the top 5, Zachary DeLello in the 03 in a race that features all 3 of the Team Dayspring cars in the top 10 for the first time this season. All 3 managed to qualify up in the top 10. We should expect them to be a good challenge. We should expect Alex in the 3, Sam Dinoto in the 00 to be factors as well. But any other names besides the ones I mentioned that could be in the mix for victory here tonight?
Well, I'm really going to be watching all of those drivers that are right on the bubble. Brett Bishop, Felix Anderson, Christian Russell is in there too. You know, all of those drivers that are right there between like 11th and 14th in the points right now, they're all going to be driving hard today. They need to make the playoffs to make this season matter. So I think that those drivers are where the fireworks will happen.
They've certainly got a lot to work for here in these 74 laps coming up. And with the field all lined up on the grid, and we are ready to bring you the action for 74 laps around this 1 1/3 mile oval. This is the 1UP Nitro National Series from Darlington Raceway. Throwback Weekend is here, and the green flag to start it off is next. With the pace car now on pit road, it leaves us in the hands of the beautiful-looking throwbacks of Elijah Ironhouse and Dylan Young on the front row. Pace car is off. They're heading into the Geico restart zone. And with that, the green flag is out, and the field is rolling. We are underway here at Darlington. Ironhouse and Young get the field off to a good start. Going into 1, it looks like the 8's going to have the advantage going into the first corner. But it does look like he'll be able to clear coming off of turn 1 and turn 2. Ironhouse to the race lead for the first time.
Boy, and what a great sight for a driver that would love to get his first win this weekend of all weekends. You know, on a weekend where you're looking outside, when you're outside looking in.
Speaking of looking outside, here comes Dylan Young to the high side of Elijah Ironhouse. They're going to be side by side off the stripe. It's going to be really close, but I think Young got him by the slimmest of margins to lead that lap. Yes, he did. So Dylan Young led lap number 1 from the outside lane. Of course, that lane's going to be the most preferred lane here at Darlington, but I didn't expect it to be a factor this early on in the race.
Yeah, it took about 1 corner for that outside lane to come in. You know, the inside lane prevailed on turn 1 and 2, but then the outside in turns 3 and 4. But here comes Ironhouse back at it. He's still fighting on that inside.
Throwing back to Billy Carden, the 1949 NASCAR driver, the first driver to ever pilot the number 8 in that division. It's an incredible-looking throwback and a very obscure one. That's what we love to see, is flashing back to drivers you might not have thought about beforehand, but it's very good to see Ironhouse in that sparsely painted but still beautiful looking number 8, and he dives to the inside of Dylan Young. He's going for the race lead here, and he's not going to be able to get it because Young's just got the run out the high side. But I imagine Ironhouse will be happy with a second place run, even if he doesn't get this win, because he needs to gain points on those cars ahead of him in the points gap.
Absolutely. It's going to be one of those things where he just needs to stay up there. You know, he can't focus on trying to win the race as badly as he might want it. He's got to stay in the top 2 or 3 just to gather up all those points and make sure he beats the guys he needs to beat. And somebody that we haven't mentioned today, sitting there in 3rd place, that 23 car of Jared Jackson, you know, that we've been looking at that car hoping that they're able to have a good run one of these days. You know, they always have that speed, but then they're just never able to finish it off. So we'll see what that team is able to do today with the pit stop coming up, of course, in this race, and then with the speed towards the end.
Of course, it's already been known that Jackson's going to make the move to the Superstar Series next year. Is going to go side by side for the lead once again. Young will continue to hold him off, but Jackson, he's running out of chances to win races in the Nitro National Series. He's only got about 8 more races left in this series to try and win, and he's going to give it everything he's got. He's in that Bill Davis Racing number 23, throwback to the Ward Burton days and his Daytona 500 winning Caterpillar car. And now Jackson is under fire now from Zachary DeLello in the 03. Shout out to the Team Dayspring rookie. He's giving Jackson a run for his money here as Ironhouse holds them both off for 2nd place.
Yeah, it looks like Ironhouse is finally starting to figure out that outside lane, and we'll see Jared Jackson. He's going to get a huge run here off the corner using the outside in front of the Dayspring car, and they're all going to file back in line there, and we'll see if the 23 and the 8 are able to catch back up to them. It looks like the 8 car has. Is he going to sneak to the outside? Not yet. But, you know, it's going to be interesting to see the flowing of this race. You know, are these drivers who are behind the leader, are they going to be able to catch back up if they lose time? Are they going to be able to make moves like they were while they were up there if they have fallen behind? You know, it's just going to be a game of clean and dirty air today, you know, especially as we get farther and farther into the run. The tires are going to start to wear out. The cars are going to handle very, very differently at the end of the run, and then beginning a new run after the pit stops is also going to be difficult because you got new tires and you haven't felt that grip in a long while. So there's a lot of stuff to deal with, and then don't even get started on lap cars. They're going to be a huge issue at some point as well. So, you know, it's just all about making sure that you get there to the end of the race and avoid all the problems that could come from these factors.
But for now, it's Dylan Young who continues to lead. Ironhouse going to take another peek at him on the inside, but it's not going to be able to... Oh, he does get alongside him coming to the line. This is going to be a close race for the lead, but Young continues to hold him off. Will that change, though, going into turn 1? That outside line is so strong around here. Ironhouse can stay with him for a little while, and he might actually nose out to the... It depends on where Jared Jackson goes behind him. Is he going to follow along? But Young has just got such a good car tonight. That
outside lane, it's really the domination of the outside lane right now. The 8 car, he's been trying to get down there, and he's like barely able to do it, but he just can't. Once he gets next to him, he doesn't have any draft, he doesn't have any momentum that he can put into a run to try to get by him on the bottom. I'd like to see maybe if he could really send it into the corner and do a slide job, or he might be saving that for later in the run when his tires are already mostly gone.
So Dylan Young continues to lead the way. He's building a bit of a gap. Jared Jackson runs 3rd behind Elijah Ironhouse. Now he moves to the outside, try and get a run on this 8 car of Ironhouse. Jackson, of course, and Ironhouse both looking for their first career wins as Jackson moves to the inside of Elijah Ironhouse, but he has to back out of it to defend his position against Zachary DeLello, who's building a charge on the outside. He's looking for his first career win, as is Peter Onjak in 5th. And Felix Anderson in the 6th position. So it's 5 cars behind Dylan Young are all looking for their first career wins. Of course, Young has a win at Texas World Speedway earlier this season, so he's already got a win in the bank, but he'd love nothing more than to get another one as DeLello takes over the 3rd spot from Jared Jackson.
Yeah, that was a textbook Darlington move right there. He just stayed on the outside and stayed hungry, and then he got by him going down the straightaway, and then he drove away because he had all that momentum. And Jared Jackson has started to fall back a little bit. He's got to figure out that outside lane so that he can stay up through there.
Here's a look at the championship leader, Alex Verget-Berube, in this 3 car, who started in 10th position. He's just now passed Francois Chastain to move up into the 8th spot, throwing back to pre-war legendary racing hero Bill Snowden, the first driver in history to drive the number 3 in stock car competition. So a theme going on with your drivers, but they're both beautiful looking cars, and they're both running in the top 10 right now, so good runs from both of them. And looking back at Francois Chastain, actually, you might see the name Holman Moody on the side of his Chevrolet. All 3 of the Team Dayspring cars throwing back to the Holman Moody racing empire of the 1960s. And they're all running in the top 10, like we said with your car. So half the top 10 is represented by your team and Team Dayspring. And as Francois Chastain gets a little friendly with the outside wall, he's going to battle side by side with his teammate for the 8th position. And we got to mention this great story. Jake McMillan in this 21 car. Startup team, he's built it from scratch. And that paint scheme on that car, the first race he ever went to was at Watkins Glen. And Jimmy Johnson, a 7-time Cup Series champion, drove a car painted very similarly to that one in that race, and he's been infatuated with the sport ever since, and he figured what better way to throw back to a legend like a 7-time champion, and a paint scheme you don't often see in that car. So good run from McMillan as we look back at Nicky Martinez, going back to a very familiar paint scheme if you're a member of Junior Nation, which I assume a lot of people are. And Martinez started in 11th position. She currently hangs out in, I believe, about 13th right now.
Yeah, a fascinating new look for that 25 car. We're used to seeing that mysterious face on the front of that car. So, you know, I mean, a little bit less of an intimidation factor looking in the rearview mirror, I'd say. But yeah, it really does look great. And right now, all these cars are running pretty good. And especially that 21 car. You mentioned it's a non-known car. In fact, when I saw that throwback, I had to look it up. I was like, really? Is that a Jimmy Johnson throwback? But yeah, and then here's, speaking of Jimmy Johnson throwbacks, here's another one sitting here doing really well. And this 3 car is moving up through the pack. So we'll see what happens in this race. I'm really fascinated to see which cars start to prevail. Now that we're farther in this run, you know, it looks like the 3 car is really good at this point, and he's making a pass on the 87 right now. But, you know, all these cars that are starting to do better right now on older tires, you have to remember that they're going to be on older tires at the end of this race, almost certainly, you know. So whoever's good on old tires, they're going to look really good at the end of this thing when it matters.
And that pit stop will be coming at about halfway in this race. So about lap 35 to 40, expect these cars on pit road, where they will be begging for fresh tires on all 4 shot corners of that race car. Because as we know, the tires get worn out so often and so frequently here at Darlington. They need relief at every opportunity. I imagine if we get cautions during this race, even if it's off sequence with the main strategy of the race, they'll want to come in and get fresh tires because they mean that much here.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't see any reason, if there's a caution ever in this race, to not come in and take 4 tires. I mean, that's just, even if you're only out there for 1 lap. I mean, we saw it on lap 1 of this race, where in turns 1 and 2, the inside lane prevailed because it was the short way around. And then by the backstretch, the tires were so worn that the outside lane was faster coming through 3 and 4. And that's how Dylan Young got the lead in the first place. So it's just, even if you're out there for only 1 lap and there's a caution, you're going to want to come in and pit because you're just going to be that much faster than everybody else who stays out.
So Dylan Young continues to lead the way in his neon black number 92 Ford Mustang. We're used to seeing the light blue Universal Studios cars. They're throwing back to the early days of Universal on that 92. And how about the 03 of Zachary DeLello in his Holman Moody Chevrolet? He's making gains, and he's catching the top 2. DeLello, I think, is the fastest car among these top 3. Question is, catching cars is one thing, as we see so many times in the series, but passing is a whole nother matter. And speaking of which, we've got the 2 championship rivals side by side for 6th position. Alex in the 3, Sam Dinoto in the 00. at the stripe. I think Dinoto will edge him out there. But, man, these two cars, I feel, are some of, if not the fastest cars on the racetrack, bar none. They managed to get by so much traffic already in this race, and they're working on Peter Onjak to make moves into the top 5. So expect the two championship contenders to be at the front of the field when it matters most.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. You know, the 00 actually started in 14th, so he's made up more positions than Alex has. And here comes the 8 car on the bottom again. He's still trying that bottom lane. He knows he's not going to get by on the outside, so you might as well try on the bottom. But you don't want to lose second place to DeLello right there behind in the 03 who is caught up. So yeah, it looks like he's going to just slot in right there and stay in line with the 92 staying ahead.
DeLello swings high, trying to see if he can't get a run on Ironhouse off of 4, and man, he's just going to get a huge run, makes maybe a little bumper shot to the back of the 8, trying to say, hey, hurry up, try and get around that 92, because I'm faster than both of you, so if you want to get up there, you better take the lead in a hurry. But Dylan Young's doing everything in his power to make sure that doesn't happen. They fly down the backstretch going into turn 3. We're already a third of the way through this race. Time really flies when you're having a good time. You're back in time with these old-looking cars, and what a masterful performance these cars are putting on right now.
For sure, you know, and I think that something interesting about that as we see the 8 car try that bottom lane again, is that look at all 3 of these cars that are in the front of this pack right now. They all have rookie stripes, and now we see DeLello finally getting by Ironhouse in the 8 right there. So we'll see if he's able to go up there and pass that 92 for the first time in the race. But they've all got the rookie stripes, and you know, we've been so far in this season, and we've been watching these guys for so long that they don't feel like rookies, but you have to remember that they are. This is their first season in the series, and you know, it's just that all these drivers are really, they're still learning how to be good racers, and they're still learning all these things about racecraft and about strategy and about how to manage your stuff and your tires and all that. So it's just really cool to watch all these rookie drivers and young drivers race and battle and learn throughout a season like this. And speaking of somebody who has learned a ton, this 00 car of Sam Dinoto, I mean, he has gained 10 positions in this race right now, and he is absolutely flying much like the rocket ship that is portrayed on the side of his car. Just a stellar performance out of the 00 car right now. And I wouldn't be surprised if he gets up there battling for the lead before long.
And keep in mind, every point he gains on Alex in the 3 is a point well earned. He entered this race only 12 points behind. That's 12 positions on the racetrack, unless he can get up to the top 2, because the top 2 pay out 5 and 10 more points respectively than the other positions on the racetrack. So it's well worked for Sam Dinoto to make sure he gets up to the top 2 or 3. He's just got to hope that Alex doesn't follow him through. As we look back at Peter Onjak in the 70s, this is a nice throwback to Mario Andretti's World Championship winning Lotus back in the days. Back in the 70s, it's a very good sign that we're branching out through all sorts of motorsports to get these retro paint schemes, and I'm so proud to have them fielding in the One Up Nitro National Series. As Zachary DeLello, he's having the best race of his career so far. He's closing in on Dylan Young for the race lead here. Imagine that. I wouldn't have expected DeLello to be among the favorites for this race, but sure enough, here he is chasing down Dylan Young for the race lead.
Yeah, you know, that 03 car looks really, really good right now. I think that he's driving the best out of anybody. It looks like he might be able to get a run out of this corner, maybe try for the outside. It's not going to be enough. Oh my gosh, the 92 just barely was able to block it right there, but he ran the inside, and the 92 goes back down there again. Well, he slides up the track there, puts the block on the 03, and now, because they're racing, it's allowing the 8 car and the 00 to catch up. It looks like the 3 in the back is making another move for position. That's good for him in the points standings. But look at this battle. Here comes DeLello on the outside again. The 92 on the inside. Is it going to work out? Oh, it's going to be close. He crosses low with the help of the 8 car. What a move. Let's see if he can make it happen. Down into the corner. He's going to be on the bottom now. Oh, it's not going to happen. The bottom is no good.
No.
Look at how time he loses on the bottom.
No, but this is brilliant racing, regardless of the outcome. Even if Dylan Young continues to lead the way, this is some excellent battling among these cars on worn tires, low grip, and look at they're going to go 3 abreast for the second position. Ironhouse to the outside of DeLello with help from Sam Dinoto in the 00. Now Ironhouse makes his way past DeLello into second position, and he can start chasing down Dylan Young once again. But now DeLello is facing an increased challenge from the 2 championship contenders in 4th and 5th right now. And Sam's not gaining a lot of points on Alex at this rate because he's only 1 spot behind. He'd only gain 1 point. This regular season championship is going to come all the way down to Bristol, I imagine, if these 2 are going to be on top of each other like they are throughout this race.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that there is nothing better that the 92 can look out his rearview mirror and see than a bunch of cars racing each other for second place, because that means they're not racing him for first. But now the 8 car is out of mission. He's gotten second place back. You know, he lost it for a while. He just rode, and now he's back. He cooled his stuff off, and let's see if he can go up there.
And breaking news from the garage area, I hate to interrupt, but major playoff implications for Nikki Martinez, who's just lost the engine in her DEI throwback of 2001. That is going to severely hurt her chances of making the Nitro National Series playoffs. She entered today just on the playoff bubble, and with this last place finish, I can only imagine she's going to fall outside of the playoff cut line and have to work her way back into it at Bristol.
Yeah, and that is huge news for the driver we're watching right now, Elijah Ironhouse, who's 1 spot outside looking in, and of course he's passed by the 00. But that's big news because he's going to gain a lot of points on the 25, especially if he's able to stay up here.
And especially if he can get this lap leader bonus point as well from Dylan Young. They're side by side going into 6 cars under a blanket for the race lead. Dylan Young manages to hold him off. Sam Dinoto swoops around on the outside as well. We're entering that pit window. I think Dylan Young's going to be the first one to pull off. He's pulling down onto the apron of the racetrack. Dylan Young is the first one to make the trip to pit road. Everybody else stays out behind him. This is a bold call from the 92, but I think it's the right decision to make in this from this 92 car to be the first one on pit road, get the fresh tires early, and let the other drivers follow you in. But Sam Dinoto now gets a bonus point for leading a lap. That is critical in his battle for the regular season championship. And now it's Dinoto out in front, but I believe he too.
In the pits, they're signaling.
They're pulling off, but I think Alex is going to stay out. He wants a bonus point for leading a lap now to even himself out with Sam Dinoto. So put Alex in the lead of this race. Alex Fijet-Berube in the 3. He stays out, gets a bonus point for leading a lap. That erases the advantage that Sam Dinoto had by staying out. Now it is Alex, it's Francois Chastain, Justin Hutchinson, Mark Davey, among others, staying on the racetrack. And I imagine these cars will also be making their way into the pits. You can see Chastain and Hutchinson making a move, but I don't think Alex is coming in this time. This is a bold strategy from Alex. He's got to be hoping that his tires will be fresher at the end of the next run to be able to make a late charge at the end, but he's giving up so much time by doing that. And you can see a lot of cars pulling into the pits here. We're cycling back to Dylan Young. He's going to undoubtedly be the race leader once all this is said and done. The huge playoff implications, championship implications, with Alex staying on the racetrack as long as he has, but he's got to realize now that the gig is up. He is coming into the pits this time, and he will give up the lead to Dylan Young in the 00. Devin Fair stayed out a long time as well. This will impact him. Ryan Caggiano stayed out. Eric Monaco also staying out an extra lap or 2. But this is going to cycle the lead back in Dylan Young's favor, and it should give him a massive lead over the rest of the field. We'll wait for timing and scoring to update, but it looks like Dylan Young's going to have at least a 2-second gap over the car behind him, Sam Dinoto. It might even be 3 seconds at this rate. So Dylan Young made the best move possible. He was the first one on the pit road to get fresh tires, and I believe he'll be good to go the rest of the way on fuel. So Dylan Young just put himself in a great position to win here at Darlington.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that. You know, when you can be the first one down the pit lane at Darlington, that's going to always be a big advantage because you're going to have that extra lap on the whole field where you've got fresh tires and nobody else does. So we'll see where everybody cycles.
Yeah, there's Alex coming out of the pits right now. He should cycle out. Oh, this is going to be close. It looks like he'll... Yeah, he'll cycle out in about 13th position on the racetrack, while Sam Dinoto, his main rival for the championship, is running second. So this is going to be a huge blow to Alex Vergepperub in the 3, and if he finishes down there, that'll allow Sam Dinoto to take the points lead going into Bristol.
Oh, what a disappointing thing, you know, and of course this strategy hasn't played out completely yet. The 3-car has the freshest tires on the track right now. We've noted in this race how much 1 or 2 laps can matter on the tires, so we'll see if that 3-car is able to work his way back up through the pack. Meanwhile, also Elijah Ironhouse is down to 7th place. I mean, we had some people that had some really good strategies there. The 87 has moved up the field, 66 as well, you know, so those drivers, they made some good strategy calls there, and they've moved up in the order.
By pitting early, that's the #1 rule of racing on tracks like Darlington, like Atlanta, like all these racetracks that are so abrasive on tires. Be the first one on pit road, and you'll never fail. And as we check in on the fastest lap, Chris Lattimore in the 47 put in a flyer, a 29:01. That's put him at the top of the fastest lap leaderboard. Give him a bonus point for that. Of course, he's running just inside the top 30 right now, but still, that's a very good lap. Solid for the 47 team. He's getting a bonus point for that, and he knows his future is safe. He's moving to Motor Dash Racing next season to replace Jared Jackson. So that's a very good ride that Chris Lattimore is sliding into. So that put, actually no, it's Logan Williams replacing Jared Jackson, but Lattimore is now replacing Felix Anderson in the 87. Another good ride that's currently in the top 5. So as we see, Zachary DeLello actually in a Motor Dash Racing sandwich right here, with Jared Jackson in 3rd and Felix Anderson in 5th. But that is still great news for Chris Lattimore. He's got a great future ahead, and I imagine he'll be contending for wins in 2022.
Absolutely, I completely agree, and you know, he's showing speed today, at least on the lap time chart right there. So, you know, that's something fascinating to keep watch on. And right now, this 92, I'm really trying to figure out how this 92 car is going to lose the lead. But nobody's close enough to draft. There are some lap cars up there that I think that he'll catch, but it's really going to be all about where he catches those lap cars and how much they impact him, and then of course the tires. He's going to have the oldest tires of everybody going towards the end of this race, so we'll see if they're able to hold up. We'll see if anybody else is able to catch him based on having new tires, especially Alex in the 3-car. I'm really curious about that car because he's probably going to start making moves towards the end of the run. I mean, we saw at the end of the run the 00 and the 3 were already 2 of the fastest cars on the track, even on equal tires. So now that they both have fresher tires, we'll see what that's able to do for their races towards the end of this run.
We hate to have to report to you as well that Kenneth Grant in the 55 has suffered a similar fate to Nicky Martinez earlier in the race. His engine is blown as well, so the Pensacola winner done for the day on lap 47. He will finish 41st and gain 2 points on the day. Not quite what he wanted out of Darlington, but I'll look forward to Bristol, where he got his only ever top 10 of the season. He finished 10th there in the spring. So Grant should be looking forward to Bristol, as is a lot of the field, because Bristol is one of those tracks where, like Darlington, it's got all this history to it. Maybe not as much as Darlington, but Bristol, one of the big ones on the schedule that everybody wants to win. As Sam Dinoto, let's see where he clocks in behind Dylan Young. At the stripe, it was 2.3 seconds. It's now 2.5 seconds. So Young is gaining time on Sam Dinoto at this rate.
Yeah, you know, Sam Dinoto, I just think that this is more of a long-run car, of course, and we haven't really gotten to the point where this can be considered a long run since the pit stop. So The 00 car hasn't come in yet, but he's got a big gap to the 23 behind. You know, so this is going to be really interesting to watch to see. We'll see what the gap is here at the line, but it's going to be fascinating to see if the 00 with no pressure, see he's able to gain about 3/10 there on the leader. So, you know, it's just going to be a flow, and we'll see if the 00 is able to consistently gain time or not.
Good run from Miles Mashburn as well in the 66, running part-time in this series. He currently runs in the 6th position, right behind Felix Anderson. You can see Elijah Ironhouse in the back of your shot, the pole sitter. He was running in the top 3 for much of the first half of this race, but has fallen back a little bit to 7th place, about 7 seconds off the lead, but still a solid top 10 run on a day where contenders like Nicky Martinez is having engine issues. Brett Bishop's not running as good as he maybe would hope for. So, a good run from Ironhouse, and that puts him right back into the thick of things as we head to Bristol next week.
For sure, you know, that's exactly what that team needed, you know, after some troubles in the last race, and you know, just something to keep you feeling like you're good, keep you motivated, keep you in the championship fight. That's always a good race to have.
Speaking of the championship fight, Alex Vergepperub in the 3, he's gained 2 spots since the pit stops. He's up to 11. And he's on the back bumper of Francois Chastain and Justin Hutchinson in their battle for 9th, with Kyle Walters right behind him. And we also have to report some very slow pit stops from Devin Fair and Peter Onjak, 2 cars who were running in the top 10. 4 pit stops now running well outside the top 20 in both their cases. It's a tough break, and it will likely put an irreparable blow into both their hopes of making the Nitro National Series playoffs, but Onjak is going to hopefully return next year with his cell-phone race team, so he'll get another crack at it in 2022. Devin Fair is actually making a move to the Superstar Series next year, so a lot of good things coming for Team Dayspring as well. And they've got Superstar Series veteran Cody Goforth moving down to this series to replace Devin Fair in that 01 car. A lot of good things coming for Team Dayspring, but right now, no one's having a better day than Dylan Young. He's led so many laps of this race, all but 4 of them, to be exact, and he's only got 20 laps to go between himself and his 2nd career victory here at Darlington.
Yeah, and it looks like he's about to catch some lap traffic, so we'll see. You know, we always say that it's one thing catching somebody, one thing passing. Well, it might be a little bit different for the lap traffic, but there's a lot of similarities in the statement because, you know, he's gonna get there pretty easily, and then of course he's gonna have to figure out a way to go by, and we've seen people struggle with that all season. So we'll see if that's able to slow down the 92 car enough to turn this into a real battle.
And no one has suffered more behind lap cars than Sam Dinoto in 2021. And he might have another annoyance right behind him in Kason Cooper, running currently in the 40th position, 1 lap down. But it looks like Cooper is actually faster than Dinoto, maybe on fresher tires. But it looks like the 51 is going to give him a run for his money here, trying to get to unlap himself off of Sam Dinoto, and maybe try and make a charge on Dylan Young as well. But he's 3 seconds off the lead. I just don't know, unless Dylan Young gets seriously held up by the lap cars. I'm not sure if Young can be caught at this point. As we look back, Jared Jackson 5 seconds off the lead in 3rd, Zachary DeLello 4th, and Felix Anderson 5th, battling with Miles Mashburn for that position, as we have just under 20 laps to go here at Darlington.
Well, you know, something interesting about the 00 and Kason Cooper being right there is I think that the 51 is in fact slowing down the 00 right now at this point, and that's why he's losing time despite having fresher tires. And here's the 03 and 87 who are having great runs today. You know, top 5, they're looking great, even though they're so far behind the leader. It's a tough battle for the 87 right now with 2 good cars sitting behind him. But you know, this is a great run for those 2 cars, and it's good to see them up front.
It will help Felix Anderson in his bid to make the postseason as well. He's entered today right on the cut line, and this will certainly help him, especially with Nicky Martinez having the troubles that she's had. So, bump the 87 up to 5th place as we look back now at race leader Dylan Young, who has now caught John McFadden in the 27 to put him a lap down. And with about 15 laps to go from Darlington Raceway, this is going to get very interesting because he's still gaining time on Sam Dinoto despite this. So I feel like Young has the best car on the racetrack right now. He's just got to focus on getting by these lap cars cleanly. And even if he doesn't get by them right away, he's got 3.5 seconds almost to play around with. So he's got room to buy this time in.
Yeah, he's got plenty of breathing room here. I guess that we're going to be lower in the order here, so we won't see immediately what
and we can report as well, sorry to interrupt, but David Dixon has also suffered a similar fate to Martinez and to Grant. This race, a real attrition focused race, as 3 drivers have departed from this race just due to mechanical issues, a transmission being the gremlin for the 88 car. So put David Dixon out of the race into 40th position. That bumps Kason Cooper up to 39th, and it bumps John McFadden up to 38th, where he's fending off Dylan Young as best he can, but he's got to realize that that 92 is way faster than the 27 car, as much as he hates to admit it. But I imagine McFadden will give way to Young sooner rather than later.
Well, we'll see. You know, the 27 is in every right to fight for that lead lap. You know, if a caution came out right now, he'd be at the back of the pack. He'd be able to make up some spots. But the thing is, you'd think that the 27 would be slowing down the 92, and so far I've yet to see it. I mean, the 92 is up to 4 seconds ahead. We'll see what it is at the line. He only lost less than 1/10 of time to the 00 that time. He spent the whole lap behind the 27, so I don't see why the 92 wouldn't want to just stick behind the 27. They're going fast enough to keep the lead, so why risk it? You know, why try to make a pass in the slick stuff? There's a lot of marbles on the track, and let's see if he's gonna he's gonna cross him. He's gonna cross over onto the bottom. We'll see if he's able to make the move on the bottom. The bottom hasn't worked for anybody today. Let's see with a slower
Granted,
car.
the 27 is a lot slower than the cars that have tried this before. But he's still got the run off the high side. These tires have been on for about 20 laps or so, 25 laps now. So they're going to be fairly worn out. That might be why Young couldn't make the move. He might have been able to pull it off on fresh tires. But now that the tires are as loose and worn as they are, it's just not going to be enough. As we're closing in on 10 laps to go from the Lady in Black, and Dylan Young has built up a 3.7 second lead. So he might have lost a little time there, but he's got plenty of it left. And you can see Kason Cooper's actually gotten around Sam Dinoto, so now Dylan Young has a buffer car in between himself and his main challenger, Sam Dinoto, in this 00.
Yeah, I honestly think that if, in the case, if the 00 were able to catch, oh wow, there's the 3 car. He has gained a ton of time. Sorry, I just interrupted myself and apologized for it, but this is incredible. Alex is moving through the field, which is absolutely huge. He's up to 5th now, and that's massive for the points, because he was going to probably lose the lead of the points had he been that far back. He was in 11th for a while, and he moved up to 10th, but then now he's making his way back up through the field, and let's see.
Young has gotten past McFadden to put him a lap down as well. As things stand right now, Alex would hold a 4-point lead over Sam Dinoto heading into Bristol. That is a huge deal, especially when you consider everything that's happened in the last few laps, because Alex has worked to get up to that point. Even if he gets up to 3rd, which I think is doable, Sam Dinoto will still have cut the gap down to 7 points going into Bristol.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried about that Sam Dinoto car. I mean, he lost the track position to the 51 there. This is the fastest lap. Chris Lattimore still holds it. Great for that car, and that takes it away from our championship leaders. You know, there's one less point floating around there.
And every point matters, especially at this point in the season.
Oh, absolutely it does, you know, and that's going to be a big deal next week when we watch that really intently to see who's able to get it in the 92, of course, right now. I think that the 92 car right now is looking really, really good to have this race in the bag. And, of course, you know, it's not over till it's over. Then anything can happen here, but the 92 car is looking really, really good right now. And the 00 is still not gaining any time, but the 3 car is gaining time on the 18. He's pretty close to being able to get the 18. I'm not sure if he'll get up to the 23 here We're watching the 8. Yeah, so he's right there on the 18 car. If he's able to get by the 18 pretty quickly, like in this or the next lap, he might have a shot at the 23 car. But we'll see. We'll see if he's able to do it. Maybe right here he's going to cross low. He's going to be on the bottom, though. The bottom has not been fast.
But he's got fresher tires than this 18 car, so if anyone's going to make a move, it's just not going to work. But he's going to have time to chase down Jared Jackson, because it looks like Jackson's actually backing up to them in that battle for 4th. So that'll be a 3-car battle for the 3rd position by the time this is all said and done. But as we round turn 4 here, and Dylan Young moves to lap Jose Guerrero in the 78. We now have 5 laps to go from Darlington, and Dylan Young still got that 4-second lead to mess around with, and and it's grown by a huge amount too.
Boy, that 00 car really is. I mean, it's almost like I don't think that the 92 is necessarily pulling away, but I think the 00 is falling back. I mean, it's really hard to tell, but it looks like the 23 might be gaining time on the 00. And man, that is just absolutely fascinating. I mean, the strategy, whatever it is about the 00 car, maybe the handling right now or something, but I mean, he has not been able to gain any time, and he's lost another couple of tenths that lap. I mean, the 92 is just on fire right now.
With just 4 laps to go from Darlington Raceway. And we can report that Alex and Jared Polanski in the 18, they're battling side by side right now as we speak for 4th position. This could allow Alex to gain a lot more points on Sam Dinoto, who currently runs in the 2nd position. But right now, we only have 3 laps to go from Darlington, and I believe that Dylan Young, barring any calamity in these final 3 laps, is going to get his 2nd win, and he's going to get them both at very worn out racetracks. He got his first at Texas World Speedway back in the summer, and he got his 2nd. He might get his 2nd right here at Darlington. That's a very impressive resume to have on your resume.
Sorry to just jump in here, but Alex has moved up into 3rd place. That lap he passed the 18 and the 23, so that makes the gap 7 points. I don't think that he's going to have a shot at passing the 00 car, but that is massive, because the more points you can have, like you said earlier, every point matters. So that's absolutely huge. Look at the gap shrink. Oh my gosh, he's only got 1 lap to make up a whole 2nd on him. We'll see.
And he's got the 51 to get through as well. I'm not sure if he's going to make it work for this race. But that is the recovery drive of a race, from a from a subpar pit strategy to make you right all the way back up to 3rd. Imagine if he had pitted with the rest of the leaders. Imagine where he would have been. As the white flag flies, we've got one more time around from Darlington Raceway. Dylan Young is getting ready to tame the track. Too tough to tame, and he's rounding turns 1 and 2 for the final time, coming off of turn 2. This is Young's race to lose right here.
Yeah, it is. Dylan Young has ran a fantastic race. He's been the best car on the track for the whole thing. I mean, just an absolutely stellar job from the 92 crew today. The best strategy, the best race car, the best driver, all day at Darlington.
He'll have led 70 laps in this race, but none more important than this one. Dylan Young gets the biggest win of his career at the Lady in Black to take the win at Darlington. Sam Dinoto comes across 2nd, Alex Fisher 3rd, and in this battle between Jared Polanski and Jared Jackson settled in favor of the 18 this time around. Justin Hutchinson made a good run up to 6th, right behind these two. Zachary DeLello, another good top 10 out of him. He finishes 7th ahead of Miles Masher in 8th. Elijah Ironhouse, a good run for him in 9th. And Christian Russell keeps his playoff hopes alive with a 10th place finish here at the track, famously known as Too Tough to Tame. But boy, Dylan Young sure put a taming on this racetrack and on the field here tonight. This was quite a sight to see.
Yeah, for sure. The 92 just unstoppable today. And there you go. Chris Lattimore also has gotten the point for the fastest lap, so that's really good job from the 47 team. But the 92, man, they just, I mean, did every single thing right. You know, got the lead on lap 1, didn't even let the 8-car lead a single lap there, and then just never looked back. I mean, the best strategy, the best car, and the best driver here at Darlington. Just absolutely fantastic run from the 92.
And with that, he clinches a spot in the 1UP Nitro National Series playoffs. So We'll wish Dylan Young the best of luck in his bid for a championship. But right now, speaking of the championship, the focus now turns to the high-banked half-mile of Bristol Motor Speedway, where the regular season will reach its conclusion, and we hope you'll join us for that action-packed race as well. It's not going to be one you're going to want to miss, because we're going to set the field for the 1UP Nitro National Series playoffs this time next week. We hope you'll join us for that as well. So from Duke Ansack and from myself as well, we say goodbye from Darlington Raceway, where Dylan Young has tamed the track and tamed the field to score the biggest win of his career, and he does it at the Lady in Black.